Hi, I'm Brian Miller. Today we're here to talk about how to fill nail holes and minor imperfections on your woodworking projects. There's a lot of different choices out there when it comes to product to use on how to fill the nail holes and blemishes with. This one in particular is a solvent-based, a strong solvent like acetone. Another one, this particular one, is a latex-based putty. It has color added to it already. This is called, from the Crawford's company, it is called Painter's Putty. It's a linseed-based, oil-based putty that comes white in color that you add colorant to. And next I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, now it's time to take our putty, take out a small piece of it, and add some colorant to it. And what we're going to do, we have a raised panel door here that I finished for another project, and it has a coat of finish on it. So the nice thing about this is the wood shows me what it looks like in its finished state. Open up our can of putty, take out a small piece of putty. Now this type of painter's putty, they pack it in clean distilled water, and that way it keeps air from getting to the putty and drying it out. Since this is a linseed based putty product, it stays pliable for a very long time, which is good. So now what we're going to do is take these small artist colors. This is finely ground pigment into an oil medium. They also make colorants, and I use a lot of this. This is from the Ronin company. These are Japan colors, also finely ground pigment into an oil medium. This is a full quart size. You won't live enough lifetimes to use all this colorant up. This is about $20 for this. You can go to your local art supply store and bought all of these just yesterday for $15. So a lot more economical and a lot less waste for you at home. There's every color you could possibly use in this set of colorants. Now at this point, we're ready to pick out a colorant that closely matches what this door looks like. On the outside of each one of these tubes, they have the color represents the colors that are inside each tube. So in this case, this is a sort of a reddish brown. I think we will check burnt umber and try that. Open up the top, squeeze a small amount of the colorant onto the putty. You can always add more. Put the top back on, or else this will end up like toothpaste all over every place you don't want it. Just take a regular putty knife and try to work the colorant into the putty. So we're going to need more color than that, so we'll just take a little bit more. I like to use a piece of this glass. This is tempered glass. That way, in case I drop it, which I have a habit of doing, dropping things, it won't break nearly as easily. It makes a perfect surface to mix on. You can clean it afterwards and have it for several different uses. Okay. Now let's pick up our putty and we'll actually, with our fingers, just knead it and push the color into it. Now, one thing when you add these colorants to this putty, it can tend to get a little gloppy and a little sticky. This is what this is for. This is regular cornstarch. Old trick. Take out a little cornstarch, add it to your putty, and it'll help dry up some of that excess colorant in it. I learned this years ago from a European finisher that I used to work with. That way the colorant stays in the putty and it won't get all over your hands. So let's check against the background color. That's not bad. The good thing about the reason I like to mix the putty and fill the nail holes at this point, the wood has color on it. It also has the finish on it that we're going to use. It shows me what it looks like in its finished state. All I have to do is after I fill our nail hole or imperfection is put another coat of finish on it and we're good to go. What we're going to do next is, this door doesn't actually have any imperfections. There are no nail holes on it, so we're going to create one. We're going to take a simple nail gun that you'd use in the field, and there are no nails in it, but we're just going to create the hole that it would provide. There we go. That's perfect. So we've taken our Crawford's oil-based painter's putty, added our pigment to it. This, like I say, this is finely ground pigment into an oil medium, burnt umber. Added a little bit of our cornstarch to help dry up the colorant that was in it. And now you can see this is very pliable. The door has color on it and it has finish. It's important that it has finish for two reasons. Number one, it shows me what the door looks like in its finished state, which makes it much easier to mix the putty color up. Also, when it has finish on it, I can putty just the imperfection and not get a smear in and around because the surface is porous. If you've ever gone to any type of a restaurant, hotel, look sometimes at the wood finishing and you can see a halo around these marks like this, these nail holes. It's because they colored the nail hole, puttied it rather, when it didn't have very much finish on it. So let's take a little bit of our putty, take it in your fingers like this, just push it in. Wipe the excess off in and around it. Now I think you can see it's a little bit light. So what we'll do is take this small little razor knife, take the putty back out, and we're going to add a little bit more colorant to it. Make it a little bit darker. It's a little too light. Like I say, put the cap back on it or else you'll lean on it. Something bad will always happen. It's Murphy's Law. Mix it up again. See, that's why I love this glass. I have a nice clean surface to work on every single time. I think it's still a little bit light, so I'm going to add a little bit more color to it. It's almost like cooking, except it doesn't taste that good. I got an escapee over here. Okay. Now, when I touch this, I can feel that it's a little sticky, so I'm just going to take a little bit more of this cornstarch to it. It's really nice that they put these in these containers now, because it has a label on it. The top will go back on it. They used to come in a small little box, and they would always want to fall over and leak. So what I started doing is that I put them in a Ziploc bag. Got pulled over by the police one time, and he goes, "What's in this bag here?" I said, "Well, officer, it's cornstarch." He goes, "Of course it is." And he tasted it. He goes, "Well, it is." He goes, "Don't put it. Put it in something else and label it." So I'm thankful that they put these like this now. So here we go. It's a little bit darker. Same thing, just pushing it with our thumb. And voila, that's pretty close. Good thing about this is, this putty, if you keep it out of the absence of oxygen, wrap it up in some aluminum foil, it'll stay pliable like this for weeks on end. When I'm doing a typical kitchen and I'm doing the finishing on it, I'll mix up probably half a dozen different colors, because as you have variances in any wood project, styles, rails, and what have you, are going to vary in color. So I'll probably create about 6, 7 different putty colors for any given kitchen. Now at this point, after looking at the putty color, I've decided it's a little too light and it needs a touch of red just to warm it up and make it a little bit closer to our door sample. So I'm going to take a color here called burnt sienna. Burnt sienna has a touch of red, as you can see by the label on the outside of it. We'll add just a small amount. I don't think it'll take very much. You always want to go less than more. You can always add more red to it, but I don't want to go past our color. So let's just fold that burnt sienna into our putty. And I think you can see that it's already getting a little bit of a warmer tone to it, which is what I want. There again, we've added a little more color to help dry it up Let's put it into a little bit of that cornstarch. There we go. Colors all thoroughly mixed. Wipe my hands clean. Take our little razor knife here. Take out the putty color that we did before, and let's add our new color to it. Just push it in with our thumb. Clean it off around the excess around, in and around the nail hole to where we're filling just the imperfection. Okay, now let's check it and see what we think. I think this is much closer color selection than it was before. That's, again, I hate to reiterate, but that's why it's important to have finish on the door. It shows me what the door looks like in its finished state. It also makes it very easy to fill just the imperfection and not get a smear of color in and around it. Then the next step after this would be to put another coat of our clear finish on it, and then it's going to look very, very close to the overall piece. A lot of cabinet makers will use products like these because they're very simple. You apply them to your nail holes, you sand them smooth, and you let the finisher take it from there. A lot of people I work behind as a finisher, which is what I do for a living, I will have to go through and use one of these razor knives, take out everything that they patch because I know that it's not going to take color the way I want it to take. I do not want to see the nail holes virtually at all. So that's why I much prefer to mix my own colors, in this case, this Crawford's oil-based painter's putty, with the colorant so that I showed you earlier, and that way I know exactly what color I'm going to get. So when I have both color and then some clear finish on the wood, it shows me what it looks like in its finished state, and that's why I'm going to color the putty and do it with this method. Today we used the Crawford's oil-based putty that we added our colorant to come up with a color very similar to our raised panel door here. Now this is a very small nail hole, and nail holes and imperfections you can easily do with product like this. If you have a large fill to do, anything say over 1/4 of an inch, wide or deeper, you would need to use something different. In that case, I'm going to turn to this particular product. This is from the Abatron company, A-B-A-T-R-O-N. This is called Woody Pox. This product, the Woody Pox, is what I used on Charles and Henry Green's 1907, the Blacker House in Pasadena, California. Had serious dry rot on the carriage house on a lot of the timber work. And in restoration work, if 50% of the timber is still there and usable, you're bound by law to use this product or something like it to do your repair work. You take this and you add dry colorants to it, dry pigment, and you can create any color you need to. This can be used by itself without colorant if you're doing a painted surface, or you can add dry pigments to it to simulate wood colors. It can also be, during the curing process, you can use different types of tools to create the same texture as the surface you're trying to match to. Dental tools, drills, wire brushes, whatever the case may be. Really a valuable tool. But we'll go into this in detail next time. So that's about it for today. Thanks for joining us.